Alrighty, let's do another news of the week video on this Wednesday afternoon. And for those of you that is new to my channel, or for those of you that is watching my video again after a while, which if that's the case, welcome back to my channel. You notice I did some redesign in terms of my board, and that I actually have now got every single MLS team logo stickers stick onto the side of the board. Although there was a slight problem when I tried to do this yesterday, and I think I explained it in yesterday's video, where since these stickers was much bigger than I thought when I first bought it, most of these stickers, if not all of these stickers, are actually not stick fully onto the board. And the biggest problem with that is that some of these stickers might actually bend backwards or bend sideways because it's not stick all the way. And probably the biggest casualty in terms of all these stickers is the MLS logo, where since half of the MLS logo is sticked on the board and the other half is not, the part that is not sticked on the board constantly would actually go backwards, because at the top of the board there's this kind of bendy part that actually goes backwards. So yeah, it's kind of disappointed to see that happen, and it's going to look a little bit wonky on the camera, but there's really nothing I can do. I mean, these stickers are the smallest stickers that I can find on the market, and it is just the way it is. But either way, let's actually now get back in terms to talk about the actual news of the week video that I'm going to be talking about. And there was some interesting news that come out in this last week, and there's actually an update in terms of MLS plan to restart in Orlando. And that is, the latest source says that MLS plans to have teams to actually train at their home market before arriving in Orlando to take part of the tournament. Now, as much as I know, the players will probably agree to this plan better than the plan to actually just go to Orlando and do the training there before taking part of this tournament to restart the MLS season. There is some major problem with this plan, and this major problem will probably be the reason why this plan will not go through. And that, of course, is every single team in terms of the home market has different guidelines in terms of the lockdown and the shelter in place order. In fact, out of all these teams that is right now in MLS, there's actually 3 teams right now in MLS that hasn't actually gone into what theoretically is the first stage in terms of getting players back to training, which is individual players can actually train at the team's training facility, but they can only do it by themselves. But these 3 teams, which is the Chicago Fire, DC United, and the San Jose Earthquakes, are not even allowing that. And I'm not surprised the Quakes are not giving the green light for their players to individually train in their training facility, because Santa Clara County has one, if not the strictest rule in terms of the shelter in place in the country. And I won't be surprised if that is going to be the case, that maybe the Quakes might have to do something that Montreal is planning to do, which is actually get out of Montreal and find a county where they will accept them to do their team's training there, and they'll just do their training over there, and that the Quakes might actually try to do the same thing. So because of that, I think with all these problems laid in stone, I just don't see this is going to happen. There's going to be a lot of just logistic problem. Well, not really logistic problem, but just different problems where you can't have a team's home market, or you can't have one team's home market that says, well, we allow you to do your training at your training facility, and the other team, their home market, say, no, you're not allowed to have full training at the training facility. So that's why I think this probably won't work, and we just have to see what are other alternative, or whether or not if this proposal of potentially restarting the season in Orlando is going to go through. Now, a couple of days ago, there was this news that I kind of find a little bit baffling and kind of confusing, that says that Don Gabber is actually threatening anyone that leak information to news source, and he specifically singled out The Athletic as the news source that he is going to try to punish anyone that decide to leak information to The Athletic. And these news information specifically has to do with the news that talks about MLS plans to return in Orlando, and he's actually saying that if you decided to do that, not only you are potentially going to be fined $1 million, but you could actually lost you could actually get terminated and get fired for doing that. Now, what I find this very baffling is that, leak information is just part of sports. I mean, when you always hear about like reports of these players moving to somewhere, I guarantee you that most of the time you will always hear either a news outlet that say, well, they are going to go to this club because there was some leak information that said that this player will now agree to transfer to that club. So I'm kind of find it baffling the fact that Darren Gabber is fighting about this, and I think out of the last thing that Darren Gabber probably would be worried about, I think this would have been the thing that he needs to least worried about. And especially now, the previous news that I talked about wasn't actually from The Athletic, but actually from ESPN. Does that mean now he's going to also mention ESPN by saying that, they leaked information about MLS plan returning to Orlando, and therefore I'm going to find those reporter too? Like, the only reason why I think he might actually try to fight this is because he's kind of tired of hearing these information about MLS potentially restarting in Orlando, and that in his mind he probably think that this is not going to happen. Which, if that's the case, then why doesn't he just blatantly admit to the media that we're not going to have this problem? Like, he could literally just say that no, this all these rumors of us returning to Orlando for the restart of the season is false, and therefore I don't think it's going to be the case. But other than that, again, I'm just kind of baffled by this, and that, I don't know if this is going to be the case or not, but I think he probably is just giving people's warning that, we don't want any more leak information to these news sources that can maybe give false hope to fans that the season is going to restart sooner than later. Now, LAFC is actually searching for a new stadium name after Bank of California decided to pay $20 million to pull out of the deal that they had with LAFC, which they were supposed to have their name at the stadium for 15 years. But the reason why I think they decided to pull out of this deal is that I heard Bank of California was having some financial difficulty, and this was before the whole coronavirus pandemic actually happened. And Redder continued to just pay this amount while in debt, and end up to be in the same fate that Avaya was a couple of years ago. Bank of California decided to just pull the plug, and that they decided to just kind of cut their losses in order to pay off their debt, which I guess in some way this is a win-win situation for both teams, because at least for LAFC they still get money despite the fact that they lost their main sponsor for their stadium name. And I won't be surprised if there is going to be a new stadium name for that stadium that LAFC is playing, because any companies that want to sponsor a stadium name, the one prime location that they would really want their names to be smack in a stadium would definitely be Los Angeles. And I won't be surprised if they're going to get a new name very soon, and I won't be surprised if companies are going to have a bidding war in terms of trying to put their names in the stadium that LAFC is playing. But either way, LAFC, at least in some way, they are kind of fortunate the fact that, despite the fact that they lose Bank of California as their sponsor for the stadium name, at least they still receive some amount of money to try to get that loss. Unlike how the Quakes a couple of years ago, when they lost Avaya to their stadium name, Avaya actually didn't pay the Quakes the amount of money to lose their stadium name, because Avaya was actually bankrupt when the Quakes lost that name. So yeah, but moving on in terms of the next news and talk about the other LA team. So LA Galaxy Christian Pavone says that he has no intention to return to Boca Junior, and I don't blame him for saying this, because before he came to the Galaxy, he definitely had some turmoil with Boca Junior, and hence that's why he decided to leave there. Like, he almost wanted to force his move to be out of Boca Juniors so that he can join another club, which eventually it did happen with him coming to the Galaxy. Although, as much as I know, he says he has no intention to return to Boca Junior, he has no choice if the Galaxy decided to not buy him outright from Boca Junior, because Pavone is currently on loan with Boca Junior, and unless if Boca Junior decided to loan him to elsewhere but besides the Galaxy, he's really had no choice but to returning to the club. And for the Galaxy, it'll be interesting to see whether or not if they're going to try to keep Christian Pavone and pay the outright fees to try to get him for from Boca Junior, because most likely it's going to be a hefty price that Boca Junior is going to ask the Galaxy to pay for Pavone, and that it's going to be such a hefty price that I think it's going to break the transfer record in terms of MLS. And it'll be interesting to see, even though if the Galaxy is known to be one of the richest franchise in the league, it is still a very hefty kind of fee to pay to try to keep a guy that, they know that he is one of the main man, or is now the main man in that club. I mean, no disrespect to Chicharito, but it's clear that Pavone clearly still has the more impact than what Chicharito has right now for the club. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether or not if the Galaxy is going to pay that hefty fee. But obviously, we probably won't get the answer right now because there's no transfer that is done during this pandemic that we're in. Now, talk about the other league in terms of how they've been dealing with this pandemic. Well, some of the other leagues have also have been saying their desire to return, and one of those leagues are the NWSL, that actually says that they are going to return to their season, or actually they're actually going to start their season because they never started their season when this pandemic actually happened, and that they're actually going to start their season on June 27 and have a 25-team tournament play in Utah. And I believe they call this the NWSL Challenge Cup, which is going to be kind of like a little mini tournament, something similar to what MLS is trying to do with these teams once they restart the season in Orlando. And eventually they're going to have a champion in this tournament, and it's going to be played at the home stadium of RSL, that is Rio Tinto Stadium. But for most of the game, it's going to be taking place at Zion Bank Stadium, which is RSL Academy Stadium. And, NWSL, I'm not surprised the fact that they decided to return their season because, since they are a league that has fewer teams, which means that they don't have to worry about logistic problem, and most other teams in terms of their home markets have already says that they agree to actually allow teams to actually train in their facility. That's why they're able to get things going, and that I'm interested to see if what's going to happen on June 27, and that if that is going to be a league where there's going to be some action that is going to be played, then I am willing to watch the NWSL. I mean, I'm going to actually give it a try in terms of watching the NWSL because I know this league is one of the most rising soccer league that is happening in the world right now. Now, Liga MX have officially announced that they are going to cancel the Clausura campaign, which is not a big surprise because since the Apertura campaign is right around the horizon, and if they decided to kind of return to the Clausura campaign either in June and July, it's going to overlap when they actually have the Apertura campaign, and they don't want to delay the Apertura campaign a little bit further. Now, the big issue with this is that Liga MX, when they don't have, now that they don't have the Clausura campaign, what does that actually mean? Does that mean the top team in the league is going to crown champion and they get automatic CONCACAF Champions League spot? And that I'm definitely feeling that there are some teams that's going to be very pissed off the fact that if there are teams that, if that is going to be the way that Liga MX is going to do, then yeah, some of those top teams that only play like maybe 7 or 10 games into the season are now going to be in the Champions League instead of them. And if that is going to be the case, which I think most likely that's going to be the case, like they can't just say that, well, during this campaign, we're not going to award any team to the Champions League. And if that's going to be the case, then those top teams are going to be angry. But if they decided to say that, well, we're going to award those top team that is going to be going to the Champions League, then they're going to anger some of those teams there at the bottom. Let's say they don't really deserve it because they haven't played a full season. But either way, there's really a no-win situation of how they are going to do, who exactly is going to be going to the Champions League. And also, what's going to happen in terms of Copa MX, which is basically Liga MX version of the US Open Cup. Does that mean that is going to be canceled and there's going to be no winners in terms of that? So that will be very interesting to see how that's going to go. Now, Yankee Stadium is set to host a drive-in movie night in the future, and they're actually not the first stadium to announce that is going to be the case. I know down in Miami, Hard Rock Stadium also said that they're going to host a drive-in movie night, and I won't be surprised if the Quakes are also going to try to do the same thing. In fact, the Quakes, every summer, I know they have these family movie night where they have each family go into the stadium and they get to watch the movie from the big screen while sitting in that green lawn known as the 7-Up Epic Center. And I think this year, instead of canceling that because of this whole coronavirus pandemic, I think they should just instead of having people sitting in that lawn, you should just think about maybe paving that green lawn and just allow cars to go in there so that they can, of course, watch the movie in kind of like a drive-in movie style of a drive-in movie night. I mean, after all, they do have this big patch of land which they can at least fit, I think, about 15 to 20 cars there, and that would be pretty epic in terms of that to be happen. And what's even better about that is they literally have a bar under the screen known as the Venus, so if people want to get wasted while watching a movie, they can literally just go there. Although I think there's going to be some rules in terms of how people, of course, can go to the bar, and there's definitely going to be some social distancing rule in terms of how people can like line up at the bar, and that you can't just like bundle up each other in the bar and ask for a drink as you, of course, watch the movie under the stars. So yeah, how about it at Quake Stadium? How about let's, instead of canceling this year family night as they always do in the summer, why not just do kind of a drive-in style and have cars sitting in the lawn while watching the movie like that? And finally, just kind of something that was a little bit funny, and that I didn't mention it in the last news of the week, and I probably should have mentioned it, is that FC Cincinnati made a big blooper by showing the wrong picture of Yatstam doing their unveiling. And I'm pretty sure everybody have heard about this story, how they put a random guy that is not Yatstam in their unveiling, and people were thinking like, who the heck is this guy? That definitely is not Yatstam. And as much as I know there's been a lot of memes that is made about this, and a lot of people are laughing about this. Hey, it happens. Sometimes teams, they get the wrong image on accident, and that I've seen before where teams actually get the wrong image, and that I think maybe this way is less embarrassing than some of those unveiling video of either a player or coaches that is gonna come to their team. Like, those videos are just so cringe worthy, and I just think that despite the fact that this is kind of a little bit embarrassing, getting the wrong image there, which I guess in some way it's only fitting that FC Cincinnati would be a team that would make this mistake out of every single team in the league. But again, I condemn them for saying that they made a mistake, and they rightfully put the right picture of Yatstam now on their website. Of that is actually the picture of their new head coach that is going to be coaching this team. But either way, that is pretty much it for the news of the week. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of these news, and let me know in the comments below if there's any news that I've missed on this board. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.